Welcome to today's webinar presented by supercoder.com. Supercoder.com is an online coding solution offering Part A and B coding reference tools, resources, and not more than 30 specialty coding and compliance newsletters from the Coding Institute in one site. I hope you enjoy this short session.
Many of you are familiar with the work plan, and you know every October, November you can go to the OIG website and you can find this. I find that at times we go just to the physician section and we don't look anyplace else. So on slide number 3, we're going to look at some other issues besides just that physician area, because it's important to know all aspects of what the OIG is looking for that could possibly affect your office, your practice. When you get that, it is a big, huge document, and that's why we sometimes try to narrow it down. But some of the other things underneath, like the program integrity section, you're going to find that they do talk about a lot of things that may affect you. And so, as I said on slide 3, these are some of the topics that we're going to go over, and we'll go over them in more detail, but such as things like the error-prone physicians, the use of mailboxes, modifiers on DME equipment, so overpayments. Then on slide 4, you're going to see that we get into more of the physical therapy, some of the physician-owned distributors, and then some ASC issues. More and more physicians have owned ASCs, and so we're going to touch on that. And then on slide 5, even more, where we're talking about some of the E&M services, radiology services, and then also on slide 6, some of the prosthetic DMEs. And on slide 7, before we dive into in detail, we're going to also talk about some of the Medicare secondary payer issues that the government has identified, as well as the CERT programs and what the future holds. So on slide 8, we're going to dive into what each of these are. And I really like the federal government because they actually tell you what they're looking for. And if you go to some of these URLs down at the bottom and some of the references to the actual reviews, they tell you things that they've found and what they're looking for. So you don't have to make up and say, well, I wonder what that means. So on slide 8, over the years, they have identified providers that are constantly submitting claims that are wrong. And they did it over a 4-year period. And so they selected some of what they call their top error-prone providers. And these are based on either expected dollar errors, and they match that against some of the history and determine that they're going to review them more frequently. I keep waiting. This is something that's been on there for a couple of years, and I keep waiting for them to release the names of these error-prone that you can go to. I do expect that one day they will start releasing those. That would probably not be a list that you would want to be on. On slide 9, Medicare has had a long-standing policy that they don't use post office boxes. They will not send remittances. They will not, on your 855 form, you cannot put a mailbox. Well, as we know, technology has changed, and there are a lot of mailboxes that are actual street addresses, or like mailbox, et cetera, and things like that, where you can rent a mailbox, but they actually give a street number. Well, so the federal government has realized that now this is a problem. And so they're starting to look at some of these enforcements of renting a box and then finding out that it's not a real business. This is very popular in the late 90s, that there were a lot of these ones, and that's kind of why they put a kibosh on that. So if you have some of your things going to a rented box, please make sure on your 855 form that you state the actual physical location of your office. On slide 10, they're also looking at this debt collection. Once they've turned the provider over for debt collection to the Department of Treasury, why aren't they getting these refunds? Why aren't they finding it? And then they're also finding that some of these providers will then turn around and apply for another license or another provider number, because the one provider number has been sent now to the Department of Treasury, so they can't now get payment, so they'll try to do it again. Well, CMS does catch those because of your name and those type of things. So now what some are doing is they're actually billing underneath another physician, maybe in their group's number. So they are starting to look at these. If you are a group facility, they may be looking to see if one of your physicians has been turned over for collection issues. Be careful that they may start looking at the other ones to find out is that provider acting underneath another provider's number.
Supercoder is the fastest-growing online reference tool with more than 25,000 subscribers. call 866-228-9252 to get a free product demo, or sign up at supercoder.com for a 7-day free trial.